Welcome back to ASMR Quiz Dino. Get ready for the ultimate would you rather challenge with 100 of the hardest choices ever. Before starting, comment your name so that let me know who is watching today. Would you battle a towering moose or a massive bison? Would you live as a whale in the ocean or a tiger in the jungle? Would you pick the mighty roar of a lion or the chilling hiss of a cobra? Would you own a majestic falcon or a loyal wolf? Would you rather be hunted by a laughing hyena or a lurking alligator? Would you fly with parrots or swim with dolphins? Would you ride a tall giraffe or a mighty elephant for the best view? Would you have 8 spider legs or a pair of bird wings? Would you face 50 slithering snakes or 5 hungry crocodiles? Would you get licked by a cow or a camel? Would you pet a hairy tarantula or a venomous scorpion? Would you feed a hungry shark or a hungry lion? Would you be locked in a cage with a panther or a wolf pack? Would you mimic a parrot or howl like a wolf forever? Would you live in a buzzing beehive or a crumbling termite mound? Would you have giant rabbit ears or massive elephant ears? Would you become a clever crow or an agile cat for a day? Would you have the speed of a manta ray in water or a falcon in the air? Would you endure the Arctic with polar bears or the desert with snakes? Would you fight an army of giant ants or a swarm of giant bees? Would you want tough rhino skin or flexible armadillo plates? Would you live underground as a mole or underwater as a seal? Would you have the mind of a chimpanzee or a dolphin? Would you glow in the dark like a firefly or blend in like a chameleon? Would you pick a protective panther or a deadly cobra as your guardian? Would you waddle like a penguin or leap like a gazelle? Would you roar louder than a lion or grow taller than a giraffe? Would you get chased by 20 wolves or 2 tigers? Would you adopt the patience of a crocodile or the aggression of a rhino? Would you smell like a skunk or shed your skin like a snake? Would you fight for food with hyenas or vultures? Would you walk through a swamp full of leeches or one full of snakes? Would you raise baby owls or baby wolves? Would you sleep hanging like a bat or standing like a horse? Would you have 9 lives like a cat or fly once like a bird? Would you dive with whales or run with lions? Would you match wits with an octopus or a raccoon? Would you communicate with all dogs or with all dolphins? Would you fight a muscular kangaroo or a strong chimpanzee? Would you clean a shark tank or a lion's cage? Would you spend a night in a dark jungle or the deep ocean? Would you grow horns like a moose or claws like a bear? Would you have jumping frog legs or a flickering snake tongue? Would you survive winter as a penguin or summer as a camel? Would you roar every time you laugh or hiss every time you talk? Would you fight a wild boar or a kicking ostrich? Would you steal food from a sleeping lion or a bear? Would you be covered in feathers or fur? Would you sleep in a lion's den or a snake pit?